Greetings and salutations, one and all. Welcome to another exciting week, episode 37, Siege of the Empire, Act 2. Now, you might say, Jordan, you've said the episode number many times before, and you've always been wrong. Well, today, I can say I am 100% confident, because I have kept up with YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Welcome. Glad you guys could be here. It's been fantastic. It's been a wonderful week for me. Besides the fact that I had to go to work. You know, work sucks. Everybody hates it. We currently have 4 of our players. One, Megan may be running a bit late. She had unfortunately, a prior event that she had to attend. And Will might be sleeping, or he might wake up. We'll find out. But without further ado, so you don't have to wait with bated breath any longer, I'm going to go ahead and activate Discord here, and we're going to see what's been going on with the group.
Yeah, it's not on yet. That's a problem.
Good lord, man.
What is the problem?
Well, I think he's dead again.
Yes, I think he might be asleep again. I've sent him a message.
I'll send him another 100.
This is advisable. Hello, everyone. Glad you all could be here. Megan is, unfortunately, taking care of something. She may join us at halftime or around there.
Okay.
She had an event, an unavoidable event to attend. She told me she might, and then she didn't respond to me when I asked her if it was a yes or a no, so I assume that she's doing that thing. So, there's that. Welcome,
Will's
everybody.
on.
Glad you all could be there. Oh my god, we found him. It's a Christmas miracle.
Well, it's because I'm sending him a lot of messages right now.
Control C, Control V.
No, just typing saw over and over again. And ass.
Good. Let's start at the top. Dalton, hello. How was your week, sir? Tell us all about it.
Well, where to begin besides from the beginning?
Typically where things begin at.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Jordan. But, my week has been very good. Besides the hour cuts that I got from work for this week, because it's a new quarter, so whenever there's a new quarter, hours get cut in all departments. I was just an unfortunate soul that had his hours cut, so... only a little bit, not like, oh hey, I can't pay rent type of deal. More so of like, I lost a few hours, nothing more. So, hey, look what we got here. We got 'em, boys.
Hey!
Good morning, Will.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning,
But-
Will.
Continuing from what I was saying, I started speaking to someone that decided to stop speaking to me for a month or so because she was angry at me, and now she's not. So, got that going. So,
It's good.
Yeah.
Congratulations, I guess? Question mark?
yeah, it's good.
Good. I don't know,
It's a long story, so maybe after the game I'll
Sure.
explain a little bit.
Sure.
But
We don't need the details. We get the picture.
yeah, but other than that, everything's pretty good. Like, I haven't been this happy. I started drinking again, so who knows?
Yeah, those
Always makes
that
you
seems
happier.
good.
It's actually not the drinking part. Like, I've only been like recently drinking, like a beer on my day off type of deal. So
Did you quit for a while?
I tried. Now, when I say I try, here's the thing.
I feel
I'm
like this is an
successful.
awkward situation.
I'm successful because I can just be like, okay, I'm done. But I was doing it for someone else, and then they stopped talking to me. Again, it's a long story. It goes to that. So,
I feel like you have a lot of people that just stop talking to you, Dalton.
yeah. Apparently I'm uninteresting or
Well,
something.
At least you finally realized it.
I mean,
Jackson, your character's dying on Sunday.
Yeah.
Acceptance is important.
It's the first step.
More like complete denial to the point of acceptance. So
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
good. It's good. But yeah, no, I'm actually very good. Might start working for my dad soon enough. So we'll see how that goes.
Congratulations.
He does mason work, so it's definitely a skill that I can, if I'm good at, I can make a lot of money in. So.
Well, fantastic. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Yo.
Tell us about your week, sir. And
It's been
why
good.
I didn't get to be a samurai on Wednesday.
There was an incident at where I am kind of employed, where the project was, and I was not allowed to leave Little Rock or that building.
Okay, fantastic. Jackson, why are you lighting things on fire and getting investigated?
It wasn't me, but something did happen, and I'm not allowed to talk about what happened.
Okay, just understand that I will burn everything you love to the ground if I don't get to be a samurai for multiple weeks at a time.
Okay, all right. I can't do it next week, but the week after I should be fine.
Okay. I'm also joking, kind of.
Yeah, it should be fine. But so yeah, other than that, everything's kind of winding down a little bit. We're almost done with the senior projects I got. I'm graduating in a couple weeks.
Hooray!
Yeah, getting my bachelor's, and then I'm hoping to go to graduate school in Tulsa, which would be nice, because then I could get a free ride. Another one, and then I Will just threatened to block me, so that was interesting.
I think we know you had it coming.
I mean, yeah, it seems reasonable. Speaking of Will, hi, hello, welcome to being on time for your first game in a couple of weeks.
I know, it's amazing.
And unjustly threatening to block me.
I mean, you spamming me when I've only just woken up, I think I'm allowed to get a bit grouchy at you.
Hey, I got you up.
It is not unjustly. Let's put it that way.
Hey, it got you up.
In Jackson's defense, I did tell him to do it.
So if anyone,
Yeah,
if
why
I
would I start
sleep,
now?
then I can't hear the computer. Is yeah.
It's good.
Good.
Good. What have you been doing, Will? How's your week been? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it's been alright. Easter, lots and lots of chocolate. So that
What?
was fun.
Lots of what?
Chocolate.
Oh. You said the word strangely, and I didn't understand what you said for a
Yeah, we
moment.
thought it was another British stupidity.
Yeah, I thought it was something else, like some British food I needed to be enlightened on.
No, it's in chocolate Easter eggs.
oh, so good.
Okay. Anything else besides your Easter eggs?
No, it's been a pretty chill week, but that's
Chill is
better
good.
than a stressful week. So.
Will, have you started playing Hearthstone yet again?
No.
Sad. Ungaro's really fun.
I started playing Gwent because I got. If anybody wants it, I got some beta keys for it.
That's cool. I thought
I
that
don't
was
know
an
what that
open
is.
beta for some reason, but I guess not.
It's closed, so
Yeah.
if anybody wants me, just send me a message and I'll give them
I
one.
may be interested in that. Well, fantastic, excellent, hooray. Brian, hello, hi. It's been
2 weeks.
3 weeks since
No,
we've seen you?
3 weeks, yeah.
It's been too long.
It's been a long time.
Indeed.
Tell us all
Ain't
about
a
what
lot's
you've been
happened.
doing and what's going on with you and everything about you.
So, working, lots of work, big music festival that causes work problems.
You mean
Oh,
Coachella?
I know about the.
Do you speak of
Jordan-
Coachella?
Jordan may or may not have guessed what it is.
I just know
Lots
your
of that.
approximate area of living and then
Yeah.
recent big music festival that occurred over there.
Yeah, it's crap. It's real bad.
I can imagine.
But yeah, there's that. There's MechWarrior Online, which I have re-downloaded and
Right.
hate myself for doing.
Yes, I saw you playing that the other day.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. Oh, I love it so much, but it hurts me. And yesterday I just finished re-downloading The Sims 4 for some reason. I don't understand why, but it's on my computer again, so I may not be here for the next 2 months, but whatever, it's fine. That's how I've been living.
Excellent, fantastic. Liam, are you feeling any better this week, sir?
It took a while, but yes,
Good.
I should be back in full form.
Good. We
I know, we missed you last session.
I mean, only half the time.
right.
Again,
For
half, but
50%.
Don't know what I missed.
I don't
Enough.
I don't think much.
You missed me having my leg broken.
Yeah.
that I also pissed off Cahill. So
But I assume that you have not been doing much besides getting better. But if there has been anything, what has it been?
No, not a huge amount. That game that I was talking about last week has started up.
Right. Yeah, you were starting a new D&D game.
Yes, it's so far pretty good. The rogue who normally plays, the guy who normally plays the huge plated, like, warrior or paladin or whatever with no personality, is this time playing a halfling rogue who is actively trying to corrupt the youngest member of the party, so it's great.
Good.
Normal rogue things.
Going outside of your comfort zone is always a good thing.
I try, but then I always get sucked back into it. It's great.
Anyway, yeah, that's more or less it for me.
Going outside her
Fantastic.
comfort zone nearly got me molested by a weed dealer.
That's Jackson. You have the most interesting things to say almost at all points in time ever. For me, my week has been work felt extremely long this week. I don't know, by Friday, or I should say by Thursday, which is my Friday, I was just like sitting in my chair like, when will it end? But for some reason it just felt extremely long this week. But I did last night. I did install a game that I've been eyeing for a while, Prison Architect. I did not realize that Prison Architect, I thought, so from what I had been told and seen, it was basically going to be like a RimWorld, like a version of RimWorld. It's a little bit different than that. The game is far more complex than I assumed.
What game?
Or anticipated. Prison Architect. And I will say that there is something to be said for polish on games sometimes. I feel like Prison Architect has a very strong structure, but doesn't have a lot of polish. Needless to say, though, it does have a story, which I thought was really, really cool. Jackson, what's in your mouth?
A 40.
Okay. Yeah, we can all hear it. Everybody.
Sorry, I finished it just now.
Okay, good.
There was about half left, so I wanted to end it.
Okay, good. So, Prison Architect, yeah, it just doesn't have a whole lot of polish. There's some very, very strange, like, commands that you can do, and it's not very intuitive, but I definitely think there's a strong structure there, and I hope that... I can't remember if it's actually still in early access or not, but I hope that things continue to grow from that, because it's pretty fun. But today I was actually watching a streamer named Excessive Profanity. That's his channel name, I should say. His name is Cody, and he was playing the closed beta of Dawn of War 3. And I will have to say that I am actually super excited about that game. It actually looks really, really good.
Oh yeah.
It looks like they brought back a lot of my complaints that they took out of Dawn of War 2 and kept a lot of the things that I liked about Dawn of War 2. They kind of smashed the original and Dawn of War 2 together.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks super good. I'm excited about it.
All the models look so beautiful.
Yeah. So, like, for example, I was speaking of Prison Architect and how there's no polish. I feel like there is so much polish in that game. Everything just looks absolutely incredible.
It blinds you from the faults.
So I think that I will probably be picking that game up after watching a bit of it today.
Was it out already? Or
It comes
is
out on the
still in Nova?
27th. It comes out in 6 days. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think I will be playing that at least for a time.
I can't remember. Is the campaign for it co-op or not?
I don't.
Or
know.
is it single player?
I have no clue. No idea.
Because I know Dawn of War 2 was.
I know
that you
very
could co-op.
very little about the game besides what I watched, the multiplayer sessions that I watched today. So,
Well.
but anyway, last time on Siege, this game that we play here in Dungeons and Dragons, so for the first half of the session, we were basically worried about getting everybody back together, right? And then we decided what we were going to do, and I'll go ahead and bring everybody over to this screen so we can all kind of have a visual representation of what we were doing. So there was an excursion with Kree and Hannibal to go try and find the source of where the Magman had come from, and the rest of the people were basically just doing their things in town, or in the, I should say, the encampment. And Hannibal and Kree stumbled upon this large complex of orcish burial mounds, and when they went in, because they had been so old, Hannibal went in and found a door that was magically sealed, and then, of course, being played by Jackson, the first step was to dispel all of that magic and destabilize the magic that was holding the entire cave system together. And then, instead of running away and getting out of the debris that was falling, we decided that we were going to go into the tomb that he had found all magically sealed and stuff. And in the process, taking, I believe it was 69 damage. How much damage did you take from that deadly trap?
Yeah, it was 69.
Yeah, of your, what is your maximum amount of hit points?
62.
62. So, in the interest of not just killing him to a dumb trap, I allowed Hannibal to have basically 10 rounds to bleed out. A minute to bleed out. And so because he had that time, he was able to explore the room and gather some valuable information. Meanwhile, Kree used Nock to dig furiously through the tunnel through the cave-in. And then on the last round, when Hannibal was passing out from exertion, he appeared back on the right side of the rocks, and Kree was able to heal him enough to allow him to live. And then the two of them returned back to the encampment with a fair amount of loot gathered.
Yeah, I got a +1 great axe that I don't intend to give to anybody.
He did receive one of those. But I think the more important thing here is the treasury that you found, right? You supplied the war effort. Like, the coin in there can probably pay the men for a week or so, which is a significant amount.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where we left it, is everybody getting back and everybody being okay and back where they're supposed to be. And the other interaction that is probably notable and what we should talk about is Morella returning from Morella and Farron, I should say, returning from Middenstag and giving their report to Cahill and the council. And so Morella decided to take a very I'm going to go ahead and say disrespectful stance against Cahill and essentially not recognize that didn't feel unintentional. Basically not recognize the fact that he was kind of leading the council, and he let his normal facade slip momentarily, and Farron was able to pick up on the fact that Cahill has now identified Morella as a person of interest, and so where that may lead, whereas prior to this moment there haven't been direct actions against Morella, Cahill has seen this as a challenge to his authority and now will begin acting upon it. And so, for better or for worse, that is what has started.
This better not affect me, Morella.
I think it'll affect everything.
Fuck.
If one had to assume, it would affect everything. So it's kind of where we left off the group, and I think that the plan was to get out of the forested area and head over to Middenstag, where you have a little bit more open land to kind of spread out a little bit and not keep the force so tightly knit and available to be ambushed, because that's kind of a big deal. Is, you know, when you're all kind of stretched out in a long line trying to walk through this forested road, you guys can very easily be ambushed, and that's what we're trying to avoid in this scenario.
Yep.
I play Total War Warhammer.
Right.
I do too.
Exactly.
It's great.
Yeah.
I've played many Total War, so
I have not played a single Total War.
So
You're welcome.
with that being said, we jump into a scene where we see Cahill. It's like the next morning or the morning after or so. We see Cahill, he's riding, and he's got his retainers behind him, and he's riding through the ranks in kind of the early dawn. The mist is just kind of like rising, and today's the day that everybody's going to kind of pack up everything and move off to Middenstag. And we see him riding through the encampment, through the men, and, you know, greeting them, and, you know, doing the general lordly duties, and a courier comes up, and runs up and he says, my lord, and he runs up and he hands him a scroll, and Cahill reaches down and thanks the boy and flips him a copper or whatever. And you can see he flips over, rolls over the scroll, and we can see the seal is it's the seal of the Emperor, and he opens it up, and he unravels it, and as he begins to read, his face kind of darkens a little bit. And you see him nodding along as he's reading, and when he reaches the end, you see him read it once, twice, and then a third time, and then he rolls it up, and he hands it to one of his retainers and continues about his business. So very early on in the morning, right before the group is to travel, Arkady and Kree, the two of you are summoned to Cahill's tent before it is broken down.
That's a time saver.
And so I guess you guys arrive there either at the same time, or maybe there's probably a moment where you guys arrive. Whoever arrives is told to wait outside, and so then the other one comes up. So the two of you are kind of just waiting outside of the tent. But it's like early morning. Kree, you were probably woken up to be summoned to this thing because you don't do so well in the mornings. I assume either of you just kind of, give the up nod and continue on.
Petrov will ask Kree if he has heard what this is about. He's kind of surprised that of all the people to be summoned, it'd be him and Kree.
Yeah. What do you say to that, Kree? Oh, be right back. Okay, he's got to go.
I just got back.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sorry.
You've been summoned to Cahill's tent, and you're standing outside with Arkady. And he asked you what this is about, if you know anything about this.
I know nothing at all. I don't know. And it sucks.
Let's hope that it's not ominous.
So eventually, as you guys are waiting out there, another individual joins you, and you may or may not have seen him walking around or about, but you recognize him very quickly as as the high priestess the high priest of Mor in the army. His name is Garthun Haldarim, and that's Garthun Haldarim. And he's the high priest of Mor and controls basically all of the priests and paladins of that particular sect. He's basically Aelin, but for Mor. And for those that don't know, Mor is the god of death, but it's more the I wouldn't say good. They're very clearly like a very neutral deity, but they're all about progressing into the next phase of the afterlife, right?
So more like Raven Queen than like everyone dies.
I would say Raven Queen is a fair assessment. The one thing that is distinctive about the priests and priestesses of Mor is that they, beyond all other things, despise undeath. To the point where they are specifically attuned to fight it. They believe undeath to be like the gravest sin that ever there is. If like we've talked before in the game about like the ideals of resurrection in this game, right? Like doing these acts of healing that go beyond what a mortal soul could complete are actually looked very poorly upon by the Church of Mor. They probably rub the opposite of what Aelin would believe in. Aelin believes that everybody that can be saved should be saved, and the priests and priestesses of Mor they're too far gone, we need to let them progress into the afterlife. Like, you know, that person is dead on his feet. He needs to be given the swiftest path to the afterlife. And like I said, undeath is very big no-no to him. And he appear to have been woken up as well. You can see he's kind of like got bags under his eyes a little bit, and he's got his vestments on, but they're clearly like kind of thrown on. He hasn't taken a whole lot of time, and he's got his very long staff that he carries with him. He's an elderly man, perhaps in his early 70s. Walks kind of with a hunch a little bit, leaning very heavily on his staff of Mor. And he's got like a long, a little bit scraggly in this particular instance, but typically combed very neatly, like gray beard with some wispy hair that you can see kind of poking out from underneath his hat. And he joins you in kind of in silence, and it's clear that he has been summoned as well.
Your Holiness, where is your counterpart?
He kind of like looks around. He says, well, I don't know. I've heard that the young Lord Cahill wishes to speak with me this morning, although perhaps I am not the only one he wishes to speak with, as he kind of gazes to the two of you.
I'm not sure if my connection is bad or yours.
No,
it's like
you're going robot.
Okay, thank you. It is Jones.
Yeah, you're going robot bad.
Just give it a second.
Second.
It's like robot Shatner.
Good analogy.
Can you hear me now?
Just give it a second. Say a couple of just things.
Things.
More than just a single word.
Things. Things.
You're still kind of robot-y.
Yeah, give it a second. My internet appears to have gone out. I hate this so much, I can't wait to be in a house where I can control this a little bit better by calling and yelling at people, and I'm not in an apartment where I don't have any control.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, everything sounds good now?
You're also a reasonably talented improvisational singer.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Agree.
I always knew that.
I think it's probably just skills acquired from GMing, to be perfectly honest with you. So
That's a good skill.
So, he says to you, he says, oh, that's what was happening. There was a fucking update downloading for Blizzard for whatever reason.
Hey.
Rude.
Yeah. All right. We should be pretty good now.
Trump was asking where his counterpart religious leader would be.
Right, and his counterpart would generally be Aelin, right?
That's the implication, yeah.
Yeah, but it appears that she's not here or hasn't been summoned. And so he looks at you and he says, well, I don't really know. It appears that the young Lord Cahill wishes to speak with me this morning, and, well, it appears I'm not the only one that he wishes to speak to, and he kind of looks at the group of you.
Yes, and yet none of us have been given any word of what this matter is.
Yeah, and he probably says something like, he probably says something along the lines of, well, it's not for me to question the lords. At least, the mortal ones. I follow more, and that's the only authority that I truly take. But I understand the necessity for those who are more charismatic than I.
Of course. Well then.
Yeah, and probably right about that time, it's probably Lord Grauenberg who kind of steps out of the tent, and you can see he's got a very masked face. He's clearly like trying very hard to hide his emotions, and he beckons the group of you, kind of holds the flap back and beckons the group of you to enter. And the three of you enter, and you can see on the inside, a few of the council members are already here. Lord Tenderfoot and Lady Schwinn are already here. As well as the, what is his name? It's Bartholomew Mutton. Bartholomew Mutton.
That isn't a funny name.
And he is the, he's an interesting character because you haven't seen him around, but you immediately recognize what and who he is. You see very clearly he's got a shepherd's crook, kind of leaned against his shoulder where he's sitting on a chair, kind of next to the war table. His robes are red, and he's got the very tall priestly hat. And you recognize him immediately as a High Inquisitor of Sigmar. And you previously haven't seen him in the camp. And then obviously Cahill is there as well. And when the group of you enters, he stands up and he's got kind of like a somber face on, and he says, my lords and ladies, please, have a seat. Your Holiness, as he greets the Priest of Moor, and the Priest of Moor kind of like waves a hand and finds a seat and kind of eases into it. And he's sitting across from the High Inquisitor. Arkady, I want you to roll me a history check, because you may know something about this man. And that is Inquisitor. Yeah, 19's pretty good. Bartholomew Mutton. Bartholomew. There we go. So a 19's pretty good. So you recognize this man as not only a High Inquisitor, but the current head of the Inquisitor Order in Altdorf. And so when it comes to how the rank feels in the room, he is probably the one with the most official rank in this tent right now. The High Inquisitor would rank very closely under the high priest or priestess of Sigmar, which is ranked basically second to only to the emperor. So this is obviously something very, very serious that he has made an appearance to be here. And so once you all take your seats, the High Inquisitor, he kind of stands, and he kind of rests his crook against the war table, and he addresses the room very, very kind of systematically, where you see he looks very deeply at each individual before he begins speaking, and he says, "What we have brought you in here today must never leave this tent. You may wonder why we have brought in foreigners here, for those of you that already know what I am about to say." And he kind of like looks over at Cahill and Grauenberg, and he says, "This is to show them that we are not weak, that we are not close-minded, as it were." And I assume that... what do you mean, should you meet yourselves?
If it's not supposed to leave that tent.
Oh, ha. And I assume that maybe Kree and Arkady, maybe you guys share a look, because you realize that you are foreigners, and you guys are representative of, and maybe this is when it dawns on you, you too are the representatives of other nations here right now. And pretty much in the whole encampment.
I mean, that never really leaves Arkady's mind, but yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. But maybe it's something new for Kree, right? To be kind of involved in these things. But if you remember a few days ago, and this is me telling you that I remember things that happened, you made quite fast friends with Cahill. The two of you share a mind about a lot of things, and so it was probably at his urgence that you are here as well. And so basically, he looks at the group of you, and he sighs very deeply and says, "I regret that it comes from my mouth that I say these words ever. But the Emperor, Magnus the Pious, has died." And the obvious hush kind of falls over the room. And you see Lord Tenderfoot, who has obviously not been informed prior. You see him kind of like he kisses his signet ring and like looks up, obviously paying homage. And it's very obvious that Grauenberg and Cahill were informed prior to this, so they kind of like they're just kind of hanging their heads. But I want to know what the reaction is from Arkady and Kree.
Kree?
I'm sorry, I must be cutting out.
Did you miss something?
Yeah, that last, like, 2 or 3, maybe 4 words.
What is your reaction when you're told that the Emperor has died?
Kree just stands there. He didn't really have much interaction with this Emperor. For the most part, all he knows is that the further integration of lizardmen into human society is partially from him. So there's not a big reaction. He's just very stalwart would be the word.
Okay. And Arkady?
Should Arkady, like, roll to keep a straight face? Because his immediate thought process, well, it goes in several directions. One of those lines is, "We are fucked." Another one is, "This is seriously going to accelerate the political situation." And this is sort of the end of a golden age, which is going to mean all the more possible chaos resulting from, well, both literal and figurative chaos resulting from whoever's going to be taking the position next. Like, quite apart from whoever Magnus the Pious may have been as a person, the institution is a major psychological factor for people across the entire empire.
Right, and is one of the reasons why he specifically said it doesn't leave this tent, right? Like,
Yep.
they're giving you the courtesy of informing you, but they specifically said this doesn't get out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that can only last so long.
Right, and that's one of the other things, and I think that... So what is your... I mean, if you want to roll, like, a wisdom saving throw, I would say, is probably the most appropriate. You can, or you can just have your character act, however. But it's clear that everybody else in the room is struck similarly by this knowledge, so it would not be, like, out of place for you to also be struck, kind of dumbfounded a little bit.
Yeah, he'll let a certain amount of shock show.
Mm-hmm.
Make an appropriately reverent sign of mourning.
Yeah, totally. And I think that probably at that point, the High Inquisitor sits down, and you notice, like, the High Inquisitor is not particularly emotional one way or the other about anything. Probably due to his training, or some whatever keeps this ball of... I mean, I'm not going to call him evil, but Inquisitors generally are seen as evil people. He appears to have, like, said his thing, and he's any kind of... like, places a hand on the table, and he says, "Now, I know the first thing that you all will want to do is mourn, but this unfortunately is neither the time nor the place for that. My uncle was a great man, and we can only hope that the next emperor that is elected is just as great. But, for those of us here, that is not our concern. That will be for the elector counts to decide. We have a much more important mission, the reclamation of Middenheim." And he kind of, like, looks for... You see, seated around the table, you see Lord Groundberg kind of, like, nods. You see Lord Tenderfoot kind of nods very emphatically. Lady Schwinn is kind of, like... You can see perhaps silent tears rolling down her face, with her hand just kind of over her mouth, not really having a reaction to what Cahill says. And he turns and he looks to you, Arkady, and he says... "It will be important in the days to come that the news is passed appropriately to other nations. It is why at my insistence, the two of you are here." And he looks at Kree and Arkady. Jesus.
Get an extended mag on it.
Hold.
It's like almost better than a shotgun.
Sorry about that.
You should be.
I hate this. I'm actually just gonna stop the stream real quick, and we're just gonna local record because apparently my internet does not want to cooperate today.
Bye, stream.
Yeah, it's very upsetting to me right now, but that's okay. La 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 la. Give it a second. Just un momento.
No worries.
I'm worried.
You should be. We're all gonna die.
I knew it!
Not untrue.
We all have to at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but Arkady has, like, uncanny dodge.
And I don't know about you,
Hey,
but I plan
till I
on
get
being
to the
cryogenically
restaurant.
frozen. And also become a creature of chaos in the end, so I'll technically be immortal. Because last time I checked, they don't have lifespans.
Good.
Until they explode into million pieces.
Yeah.
But I will live on in those millions of pieces.
Until they are
Is that a
slain.
good thing?
I will be infinite!
Fantastic. Okay.
Infinite and everlasting!
So, he looks at the two of you and he says, I guess he looks at Kree first, Cahill does, and he says to you, he says, Kree, I know that there is no centralized government of the lizard people. You operate as clans. But I would ask that whatever you may have to offer, or perhaps advise on, you bring it to my attention when it is possible.
I can do that for you.
Good. This will not affect your men as much as it will mine, but it is something to consider. That perhaps the resolve of the lizard men will inspire the rest of us.
We must stay strong while you are in your hour of weakness.
Yeah, and I think that there's a little bit of a cringe probably when you say hour of weakness around the table. But Cahill shrugs it off. And he looks at Arkady and he says, typically it would be the job of the next of kin to draft a letter to the Queen of Kislev to inform her of this. I would ask that perhaps, with your approval, you would assist me in this, Arkady.
Of course, although I would imagine you have no desire to send such information at this time.
No, but, well, there should at least be a draft made should the worst occur on our march to Mindenheim.
Naturally. Regardless, Kislev remains the staunch friend of the Empire in all times.
This is what I was hoping you would say, Arkady. Thank you.
The friendship of Magnus the Pious was much appreciated, and so will that of his successor.
Yeah, and I think Cahill probably beams a smile. It's obviously like filled with emotion, sadness, and all that. But he beams a smile and he says, "Yes, I understand, and there is little we can do to repay the valiant effort of Kislev in their times of need, but I am certain that a successor would recognize the fact that you stand here today with us." And I think at that point, Lord Tenderfoot probably speaks up and he says, "Hi, Inquisitor, sir. I have a question. In what manner did the Emperor, his most holy, die?" And I think that the Inquisitor probably, like, who's probably been, like, swirling a glass of, like, wine around, he sets it down on the table and he looks and he says, "That is precisely why I am here. It seems that, well, seems that it was not simply of age." And I think there is an audible gasp around the table. Although there were hints of this before, right? Hearing it from the High Inquisitor's mouth makes it real, right? Regardless of what you believed prior to this, it makes it real. Sorry, I can't have anybody drink wine in this game, apparently. So he kind of looks around and he says, "There will be questions for those closest to the Emperor, just to ensure that his passing is as smooth as possible." And I think that is probably at that you see the you see what's his name? You see Garthun, the High Priest of Mor. He kind of like stands up and like you hear him like kind of ache out of his chair. And he kind of like looks around and he says, "Well, I assume the reason I was called here is so that I may prepare. Very well. I will get my men and women to it. Your lordship. And he kind of looks at Cahill. And Cahill gives him a nod and says, thank you, Holy One. And he says, and before he leaves, you see him shoot probably a little bit of daggers at the High Inquisitor. The High Priest of Moor may be able to get away with that. Most other people probably could not. But it does appear that there is perhaps some bad blood there. And the High Priest of Moor departs and walks out of the tent. And at that juncture, Cahill kind of dismisses the group, and you guys are free to go about what you will, with the exception of Cahill does say that perhaps after a few days, or when you find another permanent encampment, he's probably going to make an announcement so that rumors don't begin to fly, because it would be impossible for people not to have seen the High Inquisitor to be here, and there to be a meeting, and eventually people will start talking. And in Cahill's mind, it's better to at least let them know and let them deal with it before, they're actually dealing with some crazy shit, like demons and shit. So, so you all are kind of dismissed to go about your business. And that makes it kind of official mourning at this juncture.